Welcome to the Unzip Mind podcast. My name is Nick Smith. I'm here with Greg Minikis and Dylan Jessen.
Why, hello.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back.
Oh,
it's the time.
It's been hot for a couple days, but now we got some overcast skies, keeping things cool, which is a function of nature, which is part of the topic of our conversation today. Let's talk about it. So, yeah, we're talking about natural therapies, sort of the healing power of nature. We all have experience to varying degrees. Dylan, you've done a lot of camping, backpacking over the years. You were, it was your job for a while, right? You were wilderness therapy guide?
Yep.
That was your title?
Yeah. I worked for a company out of the Olympic Forest, actually, out in the Pacific Northwest. And yeah, I was really fortuitous to be able to line up and link with them when I was doing my capstone. And
What's capstone?
When I was my capstone, it's the final project with one of my degrees, and it was for my psych degree. And I was looking at the benefits of wellness therapy and different natural therapeutics as alternative treatments to people who are like uncomfortable in clinical spaces or like unable to access the therapeutic needs they need that are needed through a fundamental or like through a typical clinical therapeutic experience.
So you went into your sort of senior project already with this sort of belief or this interest in like natural therapy and sort of like the healing power of nature. So you were already there before you started your wilderness therapy guiding.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So a little bit of backstory, I guess, not to, and check me if I'm starting to get tangential.
I'm hoping for the backstory on this.
So, backstory, part of me has always been drawn to nature, right? To the natural world. I've always had a very deep, connection and deep tie and pull to the natural world ever since I was a child. Anytime I was faced with adversities or any difficulties in my life, I would always go to the woods. And I grew up in a really rural area in New England, in northern New Hampshire, and I was fortunate just to be surrounded all the time with woods.
Could you just like go out your back door?
I could go out my driveway, my front yard, anywhere.
Hell yeah.
And the house where my memory started, where I started having recall, right? Like before then, I grew up on a private dirt road. At the back end of it, I could do whatever I wanted. The house where I start remembering, I grew up again out on the outskirts of already a very isolated, like small town, very wooded area. And it was on I literally played in the street. It was like not a cul-de-sac, but it was like this offshoot little road to a main. It was anyway. I just was around woods all the time, so I would go just climb trees.
Hell yeah!
Right, and I would just sit in branches and hang out, and that's where And now having the knowledge I do, and the insight I do, I know why I was doing that. When I was that young, obviously you're just going out, and I didn't want to be in the adversity I was in, or I didn't want to be in that space, and I've always felt comfortable in the woods. So I've always been drawn to that. And I've always worked outside, right? Like I've been in kitchens, but like most of my summer jobs, and I've been a ski instructor. I used to do golf maintenance and landscaping, and I always just find something that keeps me outside.
When you were filling out go. When you fill out job applications, you weren't looking for your cubicle desk job. You weren't looking to like ring a cash register under fluorescent lights. Like
literally have nightmares about that.
Okay.
That was my question. Were you intentionally finding careers and intentionally finding jobs like that? Or did you just find yourself in those kind of jobs and situations?
At first, that's a great question. At first, finding my jobs, and then with intention later. Because like I literally have a fear of having to put a suit and tie on to go to work. Not my idea of a good time.
And no shame to anybody who works in like banks and like we work in a hospital now.
We all have different likes and needs. There are some people that is their form of success. That is their idea, and that is what they are most comfortable. They enjoy putting a suit and tie on, or they enjoy putting formal clothing on. go do your thing. I'm not, for me personally, that is not, not conducive to my mental health.
I will be fine working in a cubicle as a social worker at some point. That's just my temperament. I think I'll be okay with that. I actually really like small enclosed spaces, but for you were always applying to like the golf maintenance thing or like working outside in landscaping.
Yeah. And originally, before I went the route I went, I wanted to be either a park ranger or like wilderness. I've always wanted to work outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then through my life and through my paths, right? I ended up going to school, and when I was like 25, and I am very blessed, and I went to Western Colorado University. It's a smaller school in Southwest Colorado, way up in the mountains, and it's beautiful. And I originally started with my recreation outdoor education degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. And I took one Psych 101 class. I've always been highly interested in how our brains work, how humans tick, what makes us work, why we do what we do. And I took one Psych 101 class, as you know, we got to take your electives. And I had the most badass professor, one of the most badass professors who walked in. Her name's Susie. And she walks in, says it how it is. And in that class, within I want to say the first 25 minutes, I went, need to go talk to my advisor. And I became a dual degree student. Right? So I have my degree in recreation outdoor education and in clinical psychology.
Cool.
And due to the school and the amazing staff that are there and the open-mindedness that is there, I was able to really harmoniously blend my degrees and work in the direction I wanted to work in, which was natural therapeutics. So I spent 4 years studying natural therapeutics and alternative treatments.
So she sort of influenced you to blend those two, natural therapeutics and natural, sort of like natural. Recreation, sort of like
recreation, outdoor recreation education.
Okay, so outdoor recreation,
outdoor education.
So yeah, recreation, outdoor education with psychology. So this sort of like natural therapy for the spirits, or for like the mind and the spirit. So I'm curious, little Dylan, he's stressed out. He runs to the woods and climbs a tree. What were you climb the tree, you sit on the branch. What would go through his head? What would go through little Dylan's head? Like what were you doing up there when you were just sitting?
That's a good question.
Damn. You know, I'm just like wondering, why is that? Why was that stress relieving?
I've never been asked that. That's deep.
Yeah,
but it is. It's like, do you forget about everything? Like, do you you know what I mean? Are you just really in that moment, or do you process those things in that environment? Like,
that's a really. There's a lot of reasons why that's a really good question, and I can answer it like immediately, right when you like. I can connect back to that. Like, it's been 20 years, right? So when I would climb, I would always climb to the highest, to the branches that would start to maybe even bend underneath my weight.
Brave.
Right. I'm always been connected to adrenaline. It was my stimulus before I found exterior stimuli.
So that was part of it.
Yep. But the aspect of it is I could see forever. I could see as far as I could, right? And you feel the wind, you feel what's happening, you can feel the tree swaying with the wind. You're where the birds are. And like I said, like it's not, again, my household was not all doom and gloom. There was some difficulties, right? Same. It was chaotic, it was hard. And for me, that was a quiet place, and that was a place where I could see myself going somewhere, and it was an escape. It was the same reason my older self found drugs, because I lost that child, right? I lost that child self. Right. And when I lost that child self, my adult self found what my child self found in drugs, right? It was that escape. It was, I was flying. I was feeling the breeze. As a kid with the woods, I felt harmony with my surrounding, right? And I've always had this belief that when we are, there's energies are in everything. And when we are in a harmonious energy with ourselves, that's when nature shows itself, right? That's when you hear the people talk about the stories of they're coming over a crest and this beautiful animal is coming across and there's this moment, right? I believe that is when you are in a harmonious state and you are in a place that nature is comfortable showing itself to you. And that's when you feel that deep connection, right? Because there's been moments when I've been in the woods and I've had bears be really close to me before. You hear the snap behind you and you look and you're like, oh, hello. And you're just there, because you're in their house, right? Because we have separated ourselves. So I'm re-entering their space, right?
There's a sort of humility that comes with that. You almost have to like let go of your sort of arrogance. It's like, oh, I'm this technological human. We have guns and screens and cars and stuff. You're just like, I'm just this sort of like naked ape. I don't even have like hair. I don't even have much hair on my body compared to an ape. I'm just like this naked little mole rat. I'm just like, okay, bear. Like, I'm just gonna retreat here. It's very humbling and it's very kind of like strips you of a lot of the superficial stuff that we get preoccupied by.
Well, without our minds, we are so ill-equipped to be in the natural world. Are you kidding me?
Seriously.
One part that really resonated with me with that statement, especially you as young Dylan, is that where you're able to separate from the world and kind of escape. I think with myself is reading and writing. Both used to be mine at that age. That was my escape. That was my, whether it's reading, I'm in that story, that book, or writing, I'm in that processing. And unfortunately, somewhere down the line, I lost that or I wasn't able to forget as easily and like escape from that world. So having that as now, especially you older Dylan, understanding that you need that recharge or you need that connection. I'm sure, especially now living in the city, we do have a lot of beauty around us and a lot of forestry, but you're still in the city, which I'm sure you have to use that as a tool a little bit more. And so I guess that's my question, is you transferring from wilderness therapy and as a career path, and you've kind of gotten, you're kind of more in the acute psych setting, more of those walls. Has that been more difficult? Have you had to use it more as a tool rather than more naturally? Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. Yes and no, because it is just a part of what I do, right? So naturally it's naturally what I do and what I look to do.
You just get on your bike and go like on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah, drive around places. And I'm very fortunate. I live above one of the amazing parks that we have here in Portland with a lot of different trail systems.
Hell yeah.
And I take my dog on walks up there all the time. And it is enough of an escape. And it's enough of, and that's the thing. There's so many studies out there too. But studies have shown it doesn't take much, right? You don't need to go to these super remote,
you don't have to drive 5 hours to a national forest or something.
No, you don't need to go
get the
to
benefit.
these for quote unquote wilderness places, right? These natural spaces. You can go to a park. You can go to any green space. You can go to your garden. Anywhere there is natural spaces. There was a study done in I can't remember what hospital it was in here actually in the States, but there was a study done on the healing regenerative qualities of natural spaces. And because being in nature and whatnot, it's not an end-all be-all, like this is going to heal you, it's going to prevent diseases and prevent cancer, right? Prevent mental illnesses. It's not. It is a preventative and a regenerative thing, right? So this study had half the patients in a room with a view of nature and then half the patients in a room with a photo, just like a picture hanging. And the patients with a view used medication calls a lot less, and they healed at a faster rate and were discharged from the hospital at a faster rate than patients with no view.
We're talking about healing from like a surgery or from some kind of physical illness.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, from physical illness. And then there's been other, like just having bird songs playing within 15 minutes. Neurotransmitters indicators are used for stress levels, and hormones are used to indicate levels of stress like cortisol and what, right? All decrease, right? within 15 minutes of listening to a recording. You don't have to be in it. It obviously is the further separated you are from the actual experience, the less impact it has. So the more you can be in the space, the better, right?
That really resonates. Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, that really resonates with me for a few reasons. So one thing that I think of, that I've been thinking of a few times throughout this conversation, is Sarah Paul, the nurse practitioner that we've interviewed. Her use of EMDR and sort of like her interpretation of why it works. 'Cause I asked her, I was like, why does this work? Like, what's the mechanism that this actually, EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, reprocessing, I think, using like a light or like a baton to sort of strobe. And so the idea is it helps people to process trauma when their eyes are flicking back and forth, following this baton, moving. And so she was saying like, look, we are built for movement. Human beings are meant to be moving. When you think of most of our evolutionary history, it's, 90,000 years before the agricultural revolution of hunting and gathering. So we're reaching, we're squatting, we're looking. I was like, oh, is there birds in the trees? Like predatory birds, snakes in the grass, like flick, like eyes flicking back and forth. You're hearing bird song, you're hearing the wind. It's actually, from like an ADHD perspective, it's an extremely engaging and stimulating environment. I feel the wind on my face. I hear the bird song. I'm seeing there's movement everywhere. The light is moving through the trees in this beautiful sort of dappling pattern,
So another professor of mine who, again, amazing man, Slif Muhammad, he has a specialization with ADHD as well, but him and I one day were talking in class, and the discussion came up of how ADHD, if we're looking at it, has become a maladaptive disorder, i.e. disorder, right? I personally do not like to call it a disorder, personally, because I don't think it is. It is maladaptive in our societal restraints now, right? In an urban environment.
Right.
But if you were to take what we have identified as ADHD and put it into when we were hunters and gatherers, we would have been successful.
Yeah, adaptive.
We would have been the most successful people because what you just said, we're constantly looking, we're taking in the stimulation, and we're able to delineate between things. And we also pick up on really little cues like
details,
colors. Like you're going to know when something's in that ripe stage because you can pick up on that subtlety of like a strawberry being redder than another one. You're going to stay alive because you are more sensitive to the sounds and what's going on in the stimulation. So you're going to hear the leaf or you're going to hear the branch crack from the predator that is stalking you
sooner than your buddy next to you.
Yeah.
And so like, guess who's going home and being able to pass on their genes? It's going to be you.
So it was an adaptive trait that has now become maladaptive
and
because we became industrial.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I've found difficulty through my life is because of my ADHD, and it's and that's something I'm in no way, shape, or form able to teach this, but something I have learned over, especially the last couple months, in our meditation mindfulness episode with Jessa and like with Sarah Paul, is like in these moments is using all of your senses to be present in the moment. And that's something I think that's why I've gravitated towards reading and writing, is because I have to be geared on that subject right there. But I find difficulty shutting my mind off. But that's something I've been learning, is to smell. What do you smell? What do you see? What do you feel?
In that aspect too, there's that's the fundamental difference. You grew up in an urban environment.
Suburbs.
Yeah.
I never did.
Right.
I've always grown up in a very rural, very mountainous, wooded areas where like you don't have shopping centers, right? Like the closest like legitimate mall shopping center to me was like almost an hour, like 45 minutes south.
Wow.
Right?
Would you have just like a little grocery store, a little general store?
We had Walmart, a grocery store, and like literally the only two fast food restaurants were Burger King and McDonald's, and they were right next to each other. Oh, well, there was a Pizza Hut too, so excuse me.
Oh man.
But
solid.
Yeah, dude, it was we literally would drive 45 minutes in one of the directions to either go to KFC or to go to Taco Bell.
Wow.
You can't make that shit up. Anyway, well, I guess you could, but
that'd be pretty easy to make up, but yeah.
Like in that context, Nick, like what you were talking about is
like Nick and I grew up in more of like a suburban environment, so we didn't have easy access. So I mean, for Nick and I, like we've had to come up with other ways to sort of ground ourselves and be able to focus. Whereas, in order to sort of ground yourself and escape, you always had immediate access to
That's
nature.
your home.
Yeah.
Well, with what Nick was talking about taking the senses in and being part of it,
like a ground.
There's literally there's meditations or grounding exercises you can do. Where like one of the grounding exercises I worked with the kids I worked with in the wilderness therapy program I worked in, because through the process of hiking and being in wilderness, you are detracted from all of the stimulation that we have created, right? Because we have created this built world around us. It's not natural to us. In one of the books I'm reading right now, it's called Walking in the Woods. It's a great book, and we're going to talk about it later in the following episode. But one of the things that he brought light to, and just in the introduction, and it's this has been shown, if you look at our existence, our evolution as a human, as Homo sapiens, we have been urbanized for a percent. Possibly a percent of our evolution. 99% of our evolution is in the natural world. Right? We have only been indoors and in this industrialized kind of civilization since the Industrial Revolution.
Or the agricultural revolution was only 10,000 years ago compared to 100,000.
But even in the
years.
Agricultural world, we were still within nature.
That's true,
Right? So even
tilling
look at
soil
tilling the soil and whatnot, that's again, there's a lot of science behind gardening and its therapeutic, outcomes for us.
Yeah,
right?
so that's true. So then it's only been a couple hundred years since we're inside like these concrete walls, factories. And
shit. And even look at old agricultural practices, right? Like there was movement within it, right? They didn't just stay stationary and
on a combine and just
deprive the soil of all of its nutrients, right? They would move around, right? And that's where like the burning system comes from, where they're gonna burn it. It creates the soil and it creates the nutrients without just dousing the soil with these artificial
fake nutrients like phosphate, and also like letting crops lie fallow so that the sort of husks and things sort of rot and then feed the soil with their sort of nutrients. It's true. Way more natural.
So if you look at it, right, we are living in an unnatural. We're not built for this. Right. Our bodies and our minds have not caught up to what we have created. Okay. So with wilderness therapy, what you're doing is you are coming back to a natural being, to a natural state your body wants to be in, and you are taking away all of these distractions, right? And especially the kids who are growing up right now, this generation, they have so much in front of them. They have so much access. Beautiful that they have so much access to so much knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not always being used that way, right? It's being used to monetize these kids. And there is so much issues with social media and how it plays on our mental health, and especially when you are a
impressionable
and malleable as you are when you are a teen. So when we bring these teens out who are urbanized,
tell me about that.
I literally would have to teach some of them how to put a back, like not just like, because school bag is a school bag, but there's a lot of difference when you're putting a bag that weighs 35, 40 pounds on your back, right?
I had to learn that at REI.
So you have to teach people. And then when you tell them, you don't have toilet paper. Sorry. And they're like, what do I do? You're going to go dig a hole. Spanish moss is what I prefer because it's soft and great. So, hey, i.e., Spanish moss works wonderful. But yeah, that's there's a lot of other tips and tricks out there, but
so what would you see happen with these kids like over the course of
cathartic processing? So the program, there's programs are set up differently, right? So some are very structured based, where there is a regiment day, like there's regiments that they're working through. There's others that have like NOLs in their semester courses that they take. They're structured, and it's a wilderness experience, and it may not, and anyway, they all have their different setups. The one I worked for, it is more of a rites of passage style of education and learning through your therapeutic process. And we are putting miles back, and we are working on things, and then your therapist comes in and works with the kids, but a lot of it is them processing and going through this, because you take everything away. All you have is this right here. You have yourself, and you have to sit with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids have never done that, right? They don't have that opportunity. So there's times where you'd just be hiking. The day would start great, and it's still great. This is great. And like what I'm about to say, some people are gonna be like, "That's a good thing." And you're like, "Yeah, it is." You would just hear these kids lose it, crying, and you would hear them just deep, cathartic soul cry
while walking, like
just walking. And that's the power. That's the power of what is going on, because they are in a natural state. They are, their bodies are connecting with the energies that are around them, the soil, the smells, the sounds, all of it, right? And all they have is the ability to look inside and hear their thoughts. Yeah. And it is powerful. It's beautiful to watch. And then when you sit down, so every night around the campfire after eating and whatnot, we would have our daily check-in and our daily goal. So every day they have a topic that as guides you, or you're giving them, and it's a kind of a guiding thought. So it's not, you're not defining the day, but you're giving them something to kind of process while walking and while doing the day's tasks. And they have to be self-sufficient as well. You're teaching them how to build fires. You're teaching them how to cook, a lot of this stuff. Nice. That they're getting autonomy through this as well. And the knowledge that when they are faced with hardship, they're able to do this. They have the power and they have the ability. You are giving them the power that has been taken from them, right? Or they're actually, because we're not giving it to them, they are gaining the power that has been taken from them, from
like
the
regaining.
World.
It was in them all along. It was just buried under all this stuff.
And it's being opened. It's being allowed to breathe. And so every night when we'd go around and talk, that is that time to process what is going on. And it's beautiful. It really is. It's very impactful. And even as guides, right? Like, I'm out there working. It's powerful for you. Yeah. Like I'm also walking and I'm thinking. Also hiking and thinking, right? Because we're not just talking. There's times where, we'd be talking on trail and stuff, but there's times where you're like, guys, we're doing, this is for the next mile, 2 miles. We're not saying it, like, this is your time. And you'd space the kids out and you'd space everybody out so that as guides, we can keep eyes on them all. And that's our job, right? Their job is to be in the woods. So you're taking them away from everybody. So there is literally nothing around them. And then there are times within their experience, and this is near the tail end of an experience, but you have what are called solos. And like every wilderness experience, I think, should have a solo, and most do. Like you would have one in Knowles, you would have one in Outward Bound, you would have one in most wilderness therapeutic experiences as well. But is when, as a guide, you take the individual who's getting ready to get off trail, and you bring them, depending on the program, depending on their age, depending on their abilities, you're going to bring them a good bit away from everybody, so they can't hear people. They are alone. And then unbeknownst to them as a guide, obviously you are keeping eyes on them, so you're like up on a hillside or something, right? Okay. But they're on a solo. It's their time. Some of the most deepest, profound moments will come to you in those moments. And like I do solos to whenever I am faced with hardships, whenever I'm like, I need to process. Like I'm gonna do one actually next week. I'm going out and it's I'm turning 32. I got a lot of things have just happened in my life. A lot of things are happening. And I feel a lot right now, right? I have a lot built up right now. My mentality is good, but there's a lot. Yeah. And I need to sift through some things, and I know that. And I know that in this environment where we are right now, to answer your question, Nick, right? I love what I do, but in this environment, it's not conducive for me. So like next week, yes, I would love to have people with me, but at this moment, it's not what I need. I'm going to go into the Olympics and be gone.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And be by myself and with the natural world. And I'm going to go through some stuff. And with solos, if you have the wilderness ability and the knowledge, and if you don't, and you have the ability to gain it, do so. If you have the ability to put 2 days aside and go do a solo and just go to a safe place where you are comfortable, where you can camp, be by yourself, I highly recommend it to everybody because it's profound.
You had said earlier that like even 15 or even a short period of time in a park or with a window that overlooks some nature, that can be healing. It is, and it's really good to sort of pursue that and to try to integrate that in your life. A little walk in the park, 15 minutes, half an hour, but there is a very deep healing power in just immersing yourself in nature for a couple of days and like deep in nature. It's not the only way to get the benefit, but is a very like deep and powerful way to get it would be what you're about to do. So I think that'll be a really like strong healing experience for you, man.
Yeah, and it's a recharge.
Yeah,
it's a replenish. And side note, if you do a solo and when you come back from it, no matter how long, slow roll yourself back in. Don't just turn your phone on and try to like go through everything and connect. Like slow roll it.
Good advice.
Drive home, decompress, unpack your stuff, turn your phone on, let it do its thing, and one at a time. Don't go poof and right back into it because then you're gonna rebuild everything you just took care of. Right. That's just a side note. But on that note too, you guys, we're going to come back to this next week.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually bring in our intentions, right? We're going to talk about more of the theoretical aspects of why this works.
Yeah.
I know we dove into a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. A little bit of it today. But yeah, we're going to dive into like different aspects of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm super excited. So on that note, we do have a huge announcement.
We do.
Right? Yeah. So, we are going to do a little contest. Yeah. Our first one ever. The contest is going to be, we want to give out some of our merch to you guys and show our love and support and our gratitude to all of you fans and listeners and the support you guys have shown us as we've been starting out on this path. So go ahead and you guys like, subscribe, and comment. And this episode and the following one, so they're going to be the nature episodes, like and comment. And in August, we are going to go through all those posts and we are going to pick a random fan to receive some merch and a discount card, correct, Nick, to our merch store?
Yep.
Yeah, so go ahead and you guys, the one thing though is you have to like and comment on both posts.
Yep.
And
this is on the post on our Facebook page on Unzip Mind. It'll be so we release every Monday, just a reminder for you folks out there. So it'll be the next following Mondays, July 10th and July 18th.
Yes.
18th.
Yes. Good recall.
Yeah.
You know your calendar.
Yeah. Follow us on there.
Yeah.
Like those comments or like those posts and comment your favorite thing about the episode and we'll go through them.
Yes. Okay. And on that note, thank you guys so much for being here, listening to us rant and ramble. And we appreciate every one of you. Again, we're the Unzip Mind. Thanks for giving us a listen. Go ahead. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. Give us a follow. Go ahead, check out our Patreon page. It's updated and whatnot. So go ahead and give that a little look-see. And we will see you guys next Monday when we talk about more of the theoretical stuff of wilderness therapy and natural therapeutic and interventions.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. See you guys next Monday.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.